everyone, my name's Christy. Welcome to my corner. Thanks for joining me today for Flosstube 73, I think. You'd think after 73-ish videos I would check before I got on, but no, I don't. This is going to be a quick one today. I have a bunch of stuff to do, but I did want to check in, show you the minimal stitching that I've been doing, give you a little life update, and I don't know, talk about plans, and continue our conversation about friendship, just very briefly, that we had from last week, and different kinds of friends and that kind of a thing. But before we get to any of that, I want to welcome my new subscribers. Thank you so much for joining me on my crafty and artistic adventures, and welcome back to anyone who's been hanging out with me for however long you've been with me. It's been great to get to know you in the comments here on YouTube and also on Instagram. And if you are not on Instagram, you can find me in 2 different places. You can find me at Dr_Christy, and I'll put them both right here. And the first one, the Dr. Christy Instagram, is kind of my mostly daily, although this week I've been really bad about posting. I'll talk about that later too. But that's where I post pictures of my life and my stitching and my weaving and my dog and my walks and, you know, all sorts of things. Bread, I baked bread this week. And then you can also find me at the Spoolery, which is starting to pick up again. And that is where I post pictures of my obsession with spools and also my little business of spool and textile related things that I will be selling either at local craft fairs or on Etsy. This week I posted the close-ups of the woven tapestries that I showed you last week. So if you're interested in seeing those guys close up, you can see them at the Spoolery. And this is a channel about embroidery and cross-stitch and other textile crafts, and lately a lot of weaving history and the history of all of those things. So if any of that is interesting to you and you're not subscribed, I'd love to have you subscribe and stick around. I'm pretty proud of myself that I'm recording this only 1 week later. I had been doing it every 2 weeks just because life's been so busy. But this past week was spring break for me. And so I didn't have like a vacation or anything. I still did some work, but I did take it a little bit easier. I did not, however, do a ton of stitching or weaving. I read actually a lot. I found a new, well, I didn't find it this week, but I had started a series by a woman named Louise Penny. I really like mysteries, which you'll see in a moment. And I'm always on the lookout for like new mysteries. And so I've been reading the Inspector Gamache mysteries. They take place in Quebec. The author is Louise Penny. I don't remember who suggested them, but the first one was difficult for me. Well, that's not true. There is like the mystery itself is like a cozy-ish mystery, which I really like. But then there was this kind of overarching multi-book thing happening that was really starting to stress me out. But that has now resolved itself, and so I can relax a little bit. But I've been really enjoying them. So I did a lot of reading this week. I also found a new video game, a new app game on my iPad, and so I've been playing that a lot. I did bake some bread. You can see my bread here. I haven't baked any bread since July. And I know this very specifically because our air conditioner went out in July and it was out until mid-September. And I stopped baking before it went out because I live in Mississippi and I'm not baking bread in a house with no air conditioning. That is not happening. So anyway, that's what I've been doing this week. I do have a little bit of stitching. I have a finished object. Why don't we start with stitching? Stitching! Finished object is in this plastic pouch, and it is an embroidery, and it is part of my Sleuths series. I think that my camera was dirty, and so I just wiped it, so if I look different, that's why. If I look less foggy, that's why. So my finished object that I want to show you is part of my Sleuths series that I have decided I want to stitch. And basically these are embroidery line drawings of different television / literary sleuths. They're mostly literary sleuths, but the images are based on my favorite depictions of them on TV. And so I finished Miss Fisher. There we go. What I ended up doing is I ended up going with a tan Coloring Cotton Peanut for her skin. And the reason why I chose this is because it wasn't quite gray, which was my other option. I certainly didn't want to do black because that was her hair. But I thought doing a skin color that was really close to her skin color would be too pale and you wouldn't ever see it. And I also thought that this color would work really well for Columbo's jacket. I'm trying to do like a limited color palette. So if you look, I did Poirot, David Suchet Poirot, obviously. And you can see his color palette, except for the gray, is similar to her color palette. So I'm trying to keep them kind of in the same color palette. And so this kind of beigey peanut color, I think will work well for Columbo's jacket. But anyway, I'm really pleased with it. I did different one thing that I changed was in the picture, her fingernails aren't painted, but I wanted to bring this red from her lips somewhere else in the piece, and so I put it over here. I feel like it balances it pretty well, and I do like how I did the gun. I'm kind of filling in some things and outlining some things as I think is appropriate and aesthetically pleasing. So this is my second one done, and I have to, in fact, I might just take it out of the hoop right now. Out of the hoop. And that is done. And now I need to start on my next one and decide who it is. So I have 6 sleuths in this series. Poirot and Miss Fisher, Miss Marple, Jessica Fletcher, Columbo, Jessica Fletcher from Murder, She Wrote, Columbo, and it's the Joan Hickson Miss Marple. Columbo, Jessica Fletcher are the same people, are like one person. And the Jeremy Brett Sherlock Holmes. Jeremy Brett played Sherlock Holmes in the 80s. And they are excellent. They were put on by Granada, I think is the name of the company, like the producing company, Granada. Anyway, they're great, and so those are my 6 ones. So I don't know who's going to be next. We'll see. We'll see who I do. And the plan is to put them on 8-inch hoops that I paint black. I'll paint them black. That's the plan. So that's my finished object, and I'm very excited. I did work on my temperature drink shelf with my mom this past week, but I think I left it in the other building. So it is not in my studio. So I cannot show it to you, but I will show it to you next week, and hopefully it'll be a little bit further along. I did not work on my 365 stitch project because I was playing video games and reading, and I'm okay with that. I mean, if I finish this in March of next year, what's the difference? It doesn't matter. I'm trying to like be nicer to myself about this kind of thing. And I guess that brings me, we're going out of order. We're not going in any order, but that brings me to another thing. I had been planning about being nice to myself. I had been planning on doing an arts festival in May. In fact, I was planning on really ramping up production for this arts festival. And then I realized that I was kind of going about it all wrong. Like, I want to make art and go to an arts festival. I don't want to go to an arts festival and so force myself to make art. Like, I don't need that kind of stress. Like, the point is to make the art, not to go to the arts festival. So I'm not going to the arts festival, I've decided. I am going to make art. I'll post it on Instagram and put it in a box and maybe put it on Etsy, maybe sell it on Instagram. And if I get enough of a box full of art, I will go to the arts festival next year, or I will do some Christmas, holiday, winter market-y things in November and December. Because I want to make art, and forcing yourself to make things because you think other people want to buy them doesn't feel good. Right? Like, this isn't my job. And so I'm trying to be nice to myself. So I'm not doing that. I've decided. Which, as soon as I made that decision, took a huge weight off of my chest. It was kind of amazing. So that was pretty good. I did work on my HAED. I think I'm behind because I've been working on the puppy. Now, I've been mentioning the puppy for a while. A lot of what I've been doing is I wanted to get a motif done. I want to get something done, right? Because what I've been doing is the background. I've just been working on, here, I'll just show you. I've just been working on the background, not super cross country, but fairly cross country. So for 2 months, 3 months almost, 2.5 months, I only had 5 colors of a 95 color HAED. So I was really just working on these background colors. And then I moved down and I wanted to get to this puppy. So here's a picture of, Heaven and Earth Design, Lady and the Unicorn. This is what it looks like. And this is the puppy that I wanted to get down to. So I've been kind of working my way down. And then last weekend, I went out and I bought all the colors that are in the puppy. And I almost have a puppy. Look at that little puppy. Here, let me fold this up a bit more. Ridiculous. There you go. See? So there you go. We have a little bit of a puppy. And I've been working those same colors all through that area. So there are like lots of different colors in the area. But I think you can definitely see the puppy. And it looks way more puppy-like on camera than it does in person. Actually, it looks pretty good. So I'm not completely finished with it. It's slow going. It's very confetti. Here's my back, in case you want to see it. Like I said, I am doing cross country. And yeah, I'm pretty pleased. But like I am behind. So my goal is to finish this in 5 years, which means 125 stitches a day average. And I had planned on doing a lot of stitching this week, but I didn't. And that's okay. So I need to, basically what I need to do is kind of grid out this area here. I'm like the worst floss tuber ever. This is stitched on a 20 count ivory aida, and I'm gridding it every 5 stitches in a friction pen, with a friction pen. And what I need to do is grid right here, because I can just slam in a bunch of like reds really quickly. And then that'll help me catch up, since the dog was so confetti. I mean, you know, I only used 1 strand, maybe 2 strands of like 15 colors in that dog. And it's not quite done yet. So that's my HAED, and I'm pretty pleased with it. I still haven't figured out, well, my plan is to put my floss drops, from the floss drop swap, put them on my floss drops that people have sent me. And for those of you who are expecting floss drops from me, I will be sending them out. In fact, for those of you who are expecting packages from me, I will be sending them out this week. They are packed and ready to go, and I am looking forward to sending them out this week. Back to the story. I have the floss drops actually in the bag, but I haven't put the stuff on them yet because I don't want them to get all messed up. But I was watching Belushi Stitches, Jo from Belushi Stitches, and she's stitching a HAED in a year. In fact, she has a hashtag HAED in a year, something like that. You should check her out. It's her stitching is amazing. But she ties them in a loose knot so that they don't get all messed up. So I'm going to try and do that. I do long strands and a loop start, so I want to make sure that they stay like fairly nice. But the way I'm doing it now is not good. Essentially, I just have them wrapped around their skein and sitting on my table. So I do need to do that this week as well. So I'll show you my floss organizational scheme when I see you next time. That's all the stitching, that and my temperature drink shelf, which I'll show you next time. That's the stitching that I have. I have not been doing any designing this week. I really have not been doing much crafting at all this week. I really took this week as downtime, which was really nice and definitely needed, and I'm feeling really happy. So it worked. But I did do some weaving, and so I want to show you what's on my loom. I have one that's basically finished. This one here is basically finished. It just needs the ends woven in. But I wanted to see if I could incorporate my wooden spools into my pieces. And I was very unhappy with it when I left it, but I'm much happier with it now that I see it again. So that feels good. But it has some fringes and it has some raya loops and some straight weave. This I would do different next time. In fact, I may pull this out, this blue, and do a different stitch with it, just because I don't love that it essentially just looks like a bathrobe cloth. I don't like that. But everything else I like, and I really like these tassels right here. They really kind of break up the horizontal lines. The other one is this one, which I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with the top. This is macrame cord. So I'm going to comb it so that it's all individual strands, and then cut it on a diagonal, which I think will look really cool, and then do some stuff up here. But I used green that my friend Valerie sent me, that she, either she spun it or she dyed it. I'm not quite sure. But I decided to do some green stripes. And if you can see in there, this blue color is in the green. It's like blue and green. So that's why that's there. So that's what's on my loom. And that's essentially all that I did in here. Oh, I did do like cleaning and stuff too, which is really what spring break is about for college professors. Oh, for those who don't know, I'm a college history professor. And so spring break is a time to like catch up on grading, which I did. Lesson plan for next week, which I did. Clean the house, which I half did. So clean the studio, which I did not do. I got my oil changed though, so that's good. That's a thing. So anyway, I had a very productive week, but I also had a very relaxing week, and it was really nice. Then I'm not going to show you any of the stuff that I got at Joann's, but I did get to go to Joann's this week. Joann Fabric, which is a fabric-y craft store. I got some fabric and I got some yarn. In fact, I got this blue stuff there. But I live in a, well, not a fabric wasteland, because we do have a local fabric store. But we have a Michael's, we have a Hobby Lobby, but I don't shop at Hobby Lobby because they're terrible. But I do like Joann a lot. I like Joann's a lot. And so there is a Joann Fabrics by where I get my oil change, which is about an hour drive from me. And then the other, it's kind of a junky Joann, but it's better than nothing. So I went there. I didn't spend that much money. I didn't see that much that I wanted. And then there's a better Joann that's about an hour and 15 minutes the other direction, which I would love to get down to in a bit. They have a better Michael's too. Anyway, but I did get a little bit of fabric and some yarn. Oh, and a floss I was missing. So for my puppy. So that happened. I did have a couple weaving things that I had last time that I forgot to show you. So I'm going to show them to you right here. So that's this. So first of all, I got this linen warp thread. So I got that. There is a Canadian store called Spruce and Linen, and they sell weaving supplies, and they have a YouTube channel. I highly recommend that you check them out. So I got that linen warp thread. Linen warp thread's good because it doesn't stretch at all. Cotton warp thread stretches a little bit, which is fine for what I do, but linen doesn't stretch. The reason why I went on there though is because they hand make these tapestry needles that are made out of wood. They have a really large eye. They're super smooth, and I have not been able to find tapestry needles like this anywhere, and I love it so much. It was not cheap. Like, it was not cheap, but it is super high quality. I might buy another one. I also bought a tiny little acrylic loom, and they make these. I think they have like a Glowforge or something, but Spruce and Linen. So I got a little tapestry loom and a little comb. So it has a little comb and two needles that all go together. I thought that was pretty. But I bought this before my friend, who has a laser cutter. I don't know if she has a Glowforge or another laser cutter. She's an engineer, and so she has so many fun crafting toys. She has like a CNC router. She has a laser cutter. She has all sorts of stuff. But she dropped off a tiny loom too. So this is actually tinier, and it's tinier than this one. I don't know if you can see that. Tinier than that one. But the spokes are much closer. There are way more of them. So I'm going to weave something fun with this. Maybe a bookmark or something, just to try it out. I'll probably use some of my like junk floss. You know, you always have like junk floss lying around that you bought when you first started stitching and you just can't stand it. That's great for weaving stuff like this. But it came with a whole little accessory bag. So it came with and she just dropped this off on my porch. She is the president of our local arts council, and we walk dogs. And anyone who owns dogs, who walks their dogs around their neighborhood, knows that you make friends with other dog people and other dog walkers. And she's awesome. She hosts like house concerts all the time. It's wild. It's like, it's such a cool thing. Anyway, she's very cool. And so she dropped this off for me. So it has tiny little shuttles. I have 2 tiny little shuttles. A bobbin. This is called a bobbin. And the shuttles and the bobbins basically do the same thing. You wrap your weft threads or yarns or whatever around them, and you pass it through your warp, so that way you don't get tangled, basically. So that's what the shuttle and the bobbin does. And the bobbin, you wrap it around right here and you pass it through this way. You do not pass it through the pointy way, which has surprised me. There are also some pickup sticks, a couple pickup sticks, and a comb. That is my fun stuff that I had from last week that I forgot to show you, that I haven't even used yet, which I need to use. I did do a little bit of shopping this week, a little eBay bidding, and I don't usually show you my eBay stuff just because a lot of it's just like kind of materials for things that most people who watch me don't do, but I'm really excited. One of the things that I really wanted to do for my craft fairs was I wanted to make earrings out of vintage tape, measuring tapes. So this is like a coated fabric, and I have another one too. And my plan was to kind of cut them and make little teardroppy earrings. So I've been looking for vintage and antique measuring tapes to do that with, and I found 2, which I'm pretty excited about. So I got this one, and I have a yellow one as well. I also found tiny little picture frames, and these are double-sided, which I find very interesting. So I found tiny little picture frames, and I'm hoping that I can use them for finishing, but I'm not sure because it slides out like that. I'm not sure if there's enough space. Maybe there is. Anyway, so I thought those, it was a good price. No one else was bidding on them, so I got them. I got 6 of them, I think. I got, in my search for these measuring tapes, I got essentially a bag of needles. Like antique and vintage needles. There is a measuring tape in here, but it is a plastic one. But, I mean, I might use it anyway. No reason not to. Basically, I was trying to think of something cheap, something that I could sell for cheaper, because all the stuff that I have is relatively expensive because the materials are expensive and they take a lot of work. So I was trying to find something that I could sell pretty inexpensively. But it's also a ton of vintage needles, and I'm not going to go through all of them because, you know, a needle is a needle, but I may do like a needle testing video with vintage needles instead of, because I already have a needle testing video that I'll put up here that I did to talk about my favorite needles. But we have some Dritz needles, but the cool thing is that all these needles are not rusty. Right, so here we have some like needle books that were advertisements. So Vaughn's was a grocery store. And I only know this because it talks about fresh fruit and USDA choice meats on the back. Coates needles, milliner's needles. Anyway, it's really kind of neat, but it has some really cool needles too. It has the home repair kit needles. So you have like upholstery needles and cushion needles and stuff like that. And then it came with some super thick needles too. Look at those puppies. Those will be great for weaving. And they are about 4 inches. The long ones are about 4 inches. They'll be great for weaving. So I'm pretty excited. And the small one will be great for weaving in ends and stuff. But wait, that's not all. Let me put this back in and I'll show you the coolest part. Although it's all pretty cool. It also came with this little case. And inside this little case are antique travel scissors that actually cut a little. How fun are those? So this whole bag of goodies, I think, cost me $9, including shipping. Can't beat that. Even just for the scissors. So that, it's very exciting. So that's what I got. But the most exciting thing I got, I'm so excited. I'm thrilled, thrilled, thrilled. I was looking for longer longer spools to put wider tapestries on, because my goal is to have all my tapestries on vintage wooden spools, industrial spools for the most part, but vintage wooden spools. And so I was looking for a wider spool. So I found some, which I'm not going to show you. They just look like long spools. But along with these long spools was a giant industrial shuttle. I'm so excited. This thing is hefty. It's got metal ends on it. It still has the quill in it. So these are the quills. It's a little bit shorter. So this is a smaller spool, a smaller shuttle than my quills, where I got like 100 quills. So these are the quills that I got. I got 100 of these that I'm hanging my tapestries on, and they would go in a shuttle like this. So this is a little bit smaller than the one that my quills would have been in, but it's still pretty darn close. And so what I was thinking was that I would, if I do an arts festival or something, set this out so that people can see where the spools came from, right? So then they could see, like, or the quills came from, so they could see why they were hanging on these things and what they were. So I'm super thrilled with that. Really excited about that. And that's kind of all I have to talk about today when it comes to crafting and stitching and all that kind of thing. So I do want to just mention really quick that we had a really good conversation about friendship. And a lot of you, so last week, I'll put a link up here to my last Flosstube, but last week I had a little musings about friendship and how, and the kind of friend that I am and the kind of friend, basically I'm terrible at contacting people. So my friends have to be the kinds of friends who are okay only talking to me every couple months and then like acting like everything, acting like, you know, no time has passed, that kind of a friendship. That's the kind of friend that I am. And it turns out a lot of you are as well, and that's really fun. And as this is rendering, I'm going to go through and comment on all the comments. But I think it's interesting. But I think that that's why you hang out with me, right? Because you are that kind of a person. You don't need contacting all the time. And you're okay with me taking a little time to respond to emails. Sorry, Francine, I still haven't responded to your email, although I did see your comment that you're okay with that. So that's good. But I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate talking about friendship, and yeah. I appreciate that I'm not alone in my friendship style, because sometimes I feel like a terrible friend. On the other hand, you know, tomorrow we're driving across the state to go have brunch with a friend. So we're probably going to drive for 5 hours or 6 hours and have brunch for 3 hours, you know? So, I mean, that takes effort, and I'm excited. I'm excited to see them, and I'm excited to get the heck out of Columbus for a little while too. That'll be really nice too. Anywho, it's been great to visit with you. I do want to keep this kind of short. I don't want to spend all evening editing it and stuff like that. So I'm going to let you go to your next video, and I hope that you have a wonderful week. I hope to have a video oh no, I won't have a video in the middle of the week. So we're hiring a new history professor in our department, and the first round interviews are this week. So, and I'm chairing that committee, so I'm gonna be super busy. So I will probably not see you until next Friday, but I do plan on seeing you next Friday. So with all that being said, thank you so much for watching. Please take good care of yourselves and have a good one. Bye.